for the first time, instead of having one civic budget for Bengaluru, we had 5 different corporations presenting 5 different budgets. Has it made any difference? Does this justify the argument of splitting BBMP into 5 corporations?
So if you actually see the five corporations budgets, what was the argument of splitting BBMP? That there are many parts in Bangalore which have different problems and which have a different set of ground realities, and one size fits all doesn't work. So today's East Corporation, which houses the IT corridor of the city, has different problem. Core city in Central Corporation has different problems, and maybe North, which is said to be where the next wave of expansion is happening, has a different set of problems. So one size fits all doesn't work. So we had to split. That was the argument. But if you read the 5 budgets, all the 5 budgets run to a template. So if all the 5 budgets run to a template, then it is like the same BBMP budget, which used to be presented as one budget, has been split into 5 budgets. But the main question is whether these 5 budgets are actually responding to their local issues, and whether these 5 budgets are really different. But these 5 budgets are actually not really different. All the 5 budgets run to a template. They have the same measures for increasing property tax revenue. All like some instructions given by UDD or GBA. All have taken up road widening projects. All have set aside some money for land acquisition, which is not actually enough, but some money. Then all have some targets for I will do this many kilometers of footpaths. So if and there are almost similar green initiatives, almost similar welfare initiatives. So if all the 5 budgets are on the same template, then what is the great need for splitting BBMP into 5 corporations is the moot question. One. There are some, for example, you can take in central corporation budget, there are 2 things. One, they have announced bike ambulance to beat congestion, which is a very big problem in central Bangalore. And they have also spoken about this homes for senior citizens. So there are in some places there are, and Central Corporation has also imposed a new tax, which is the only new tax among the 5 corporations, 2% of stamp duty for new khatas. So if you see Central Corporation budget, there are some attempts to respond to their local conditions. If you see the East Corporation budget, for example, East has only 35 parks, whereas other corporations have a minimum of 300 parks. So it has less than 10%. So ideally, if you think so, then East should have given more focus to create some new parks or something. But you don't see that, right? East has done some work on increasing road network in that area, which is a local problem. So if you come to North, there it runs like a template with all other budgets, even West Corporation. So barring Central Corporation and East Corporation about these road networks connecting or feeding into ORR, there is no any visible response to unique set of local challenges. That means it is one budget split into 5. It is not 5 budgets, right? So that is what I think. Maybe after councillors come in, after elections, there will be local pressure, and maybe after ward committees meetings start, maybe there will be inputs from bottoms up, and that may reshape the budget for the next year. But this year, at least it looks like one budget split into 5. It is not 5 budgets. It is what I thought.
So essentially, what was the focus point? Like addressing a corporation issue, basically corporation specific issue, they have failed to address it when we think of budget.
You can say it as 2 things. One, in all civic budgets, road, stormwater drains, solid waste management, all the same things will be there. All the 5 corporations also have the same things. But if all the 5 budgets are same, then does it mean that these 5 corporation areas did not have unique problems at all? Then what is the necessity for splitting the BBMP into 5 corporations? Right?
Yes, sir. Sir, one more concern when this whole splitting happened was, uneven distribution of revenue sources, right? So there's no parity when we see this. By with the budget as well, what they have presented, North and West Corporation, which have very less revenue. Property tax is the major revenue source, right? They have some 550 odd.
It was projected
To have 550
when it
crores.
was split.
Yes, sir. Revenue. With this budget, they have given, state government has given some funds to increase their budget outlay. With this outlay, have they achieved any parity, sir?
See, how you look at it is the question. Now, these 5 corporations were unequal in revenue, unequal in population density. In all 3 matters, they were unequal. So, if you see the budget outlay, just going by that, then North and West, which were considered to be the poorest, and East was considered to be the richest. But if you see the budget outlay, North and West have a bigger outlay than actually East.
Yeah.
So how is it done? How is that achieved? Because state government, while this concern was raised when BBMP was split into 5 corporations, state government said, those with lesser revenue base, state government capital funds, grant in aid will be more. And for those corporations with a higher revenue base, the grant in aid from the state will be less.
Yes.
That has been done. If you see, now West has the highest grant in aid from the state government and East has the lowest. But East has around 3,800 crore outlay and West has around 4,700 crore outlay. It has the highest. This is one level. At a surface level, you see how East with the richest revenue base, considered to be the richest, their outlay is lesser than West.
Right.
So some parity has been achieved. But if you go to the level of population, West has 112 wards and East has only 50 wards. Right? So if you see that, Janagraha for Center for Citizenship and Democracy has done some analysis and calculations. So the per capita outlay in West and per capita outlay, the difference between per capita outlay in East and West, the difference is around 2.5 times.
Right.
So while the per capita outlay per person, what the corporation is spending in West is around 17,700 or something. In East it is 45,000 plus. So that is a difference of 2.5 times. So thereby there is no parity.
To set context, sir, for this, per capita outlay is
per capita outlay is essentially the total outlay divided by your population.
Right.
So that gives you how much the corporation is spending per person in that corporation.
Right.
So the difference, because the population is so widely varied, East has very less population and West has both density wise and population wise more. It has 112 watts, that has 50 watts.
Right.
So actually, though you may see the outlay being big, actually the corporation spending on a person in that corporation is actually far lesser than what East is spending.
Right.
So thereby there is no parity. That is one. 2, if you see North Corporation, how do these corporations achieve this kind of outlays? Is by, if you ask me, there is some overestimation of their own revenue sources.
Right.
For example, North Corporation, which was considered to be the poorest, it was projected to collect around 540 crores of property tax when it was split from BBMP into North.
Right.
Now in the budget they say they will collect more than 800 crores. So if you see B Kata to A Kata conversion, other corporations have said around 200 to 225 kind of crores. North Corporation has estimated it to be 680 crores. One possibility is that since North Corporation is coming towards the outskirts, there may be more revenue layouts that may actually have more number of properties, B Kata properties, than say a core city corporation like South or Central. So they may get more revenue. But 680 crores, they have projected the highest from B Kata to A Kata.
Right.
So through these measures, it looks like they have achieved parity. Whether these kind of estimations will actually become a reality is also a question.
So basically, there's outlay which says that there is parity, but when we delve deeper into the budget, there is some mismatch.
And also there is one more problem of this. While there is revenue being projected in corporation budgets, a big chunk is going towards BSMAN.
Yes.
Right? the new SPV which is doing infrastructure projects. So the whole point is whether these corporations show this much of revenue, but you have written about it, I think. So there is a lot of funds going from the corporations towards BSmile. So can you tell me more about it?
So what is happening is 14% of the revenue that is coming from the total budget corporations, budget is going to the BSmile, which is set up by the government for high ticket infra projects like tunnel road, elevated corridor. So this was basically set up to take up the projects which was cutting across corporations. But now, even when the corporations are there, their own work, their own infrastructure projects are being given to BSmile. So if we see corporations like North and South and even East for that matter, they're giving 100% of the revenue that is coming from the advertisement fees as well as premium FAR to BSmile to repay the loan.
For tunnel road.
For the tunnel road. And when we see Central, it is also giving 50% of the revenue out of the two sources to the SPV. West is the only corporation which is not giving any of the money for the repayment. However, it is still giving money for its infra project under Sugama Sanchara Bengaluru, which is an initiative under brand Bangalore. But if we look at this now, it also questions their engineering capabilities because we are seeing the works underdone only by the corporation and still it's been diverted to the SPV. So 14% of the chunk is going there. So even while we are talking about decentralizing the corporation, if we see the revenue and the financial dependence is still towards the central body.
And also for works.
Yeah.
They're dependent on BSmile for executing their own works.
Yes.
Not just the Pan City works.
Yeah.
So, sir, that raises a question here. So, when corporations were created, one of the concerns, everyone raised was 74th Amendment, right? Which says that if a corporation is making a certain amount of, corporation has some revenue, that revenue should be used to develop that corporation, right? So now with, SPV, BSmile, forming of SPV, corporations are, transferring funds, channeling funds to the SPV. So does this violate 74th Amendment Act, sir? Because it's a separate body in itself and they're giving money to execute projects across Bangalore. So
I don't think so, because for two reasons. There are two kinds of transfers happening here. One, corporation is giving money to BSmile to execute infrastructure works within their own corporation jurisdiction.
Right.
In that context, it acts like a vendor.
Right.
Right, like BSWML. BSWML is a registered company.
Right.
So BSWML manages my solid waste. So I pay BSWML.
Right.
I am outsourcing and BSWML is a vendor. So likewise, when BSmile is executing infrastructure projects within my corporation limits, BSmile is a vendor.
Right.
So I am only paying. That is one. The other part is tricky. The transfer of ad revenue and premium FAR.
Right.
Because it is not going towards a work that is only within my corporation limits. Right? So tunnel road cuts across all corporations. So this ad revenue and premium FAR revenue was pledged to repay the loan for tunnel roads. So some part will come to my corporation, some part to the next corporation, like that. So there also, what money these corporations are transferring to BSmile, it will derive benefits out of it because some part of that project will be in this corporation's limits. One. And two, the ad revenue and premium FAR was pledged to repay the loan by HUDCO, from HUDCO, much before the corporations were formed under BBMP.
Right.
So even before the corporations were formed, already that revenue had been pledged to repay the loan.
Right.
So there also, I don't think, because the corporation is also deriving some benefit out of tunnel road or some other project.
Right.
Right. It's a Pan City project.
Exactly. If both the tunnels are done, north, south, and east and west.
So all the 5 corporations will derive some benefit.
Right.
So all the 5 corporations pay towards that loan.
Got it.
So that is the concept. So just like BWSSB, BSWML, it is another parastatal. So I don't think transferring money to BSmile is a violation of 74th Amendment.
Right.
If that is, then BSWML should also be a violation, BWSSB should also be a violation. So the another major thing in this budget is that it was announced in the state budget itself that all the corporations will raise municipal bonds. So all the 5 corporations are raising municipal bonds in
200
this
crores.
in these budgets, no? So how does that work, and what is the money coming from these municipal bonds being used for by these corporations?
Sir, if we see municipal bonds, this is not a new concept. Bengaluru was one of the first cities in India to raise municipal bonds, right? So back in 1997 maybe. So, sir, this was announced in state budget itself. They had made avenue for corporations to raise municipal bonds. And what now corporation have done and GBA has decided is that every corporation will raise 200 crores of municipal bonds, and all this, whatever the funds come from municipal bonds, it will be channeled to only infrastructure work, right? So why municipal bonds avenue was created is because last few years there's a boom in municipal bonds, cities raising municipal bonds. If we see in Tamil Nadu, 2 of the cities recently raised municipal bonds, and also Pune raised green bonds. So, and major push for this came when Union Budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that if corporations raise, there's an incentive. For Bengaluru corporations, because we have 5 different corporations, if we raise 200 crore worth municipal bonds, we will get 26 crore incentive from the union government itself. So we have 200 plus 26 crore. But the problem here is, to raise municipal bonds, one thing is our credit worthiness should be there for any corporation. East Corporation, yes, we have credit worthiness because their own source of revenue is around 900 crore. Central and South, to an extent, they do have credit worthiness. Question is, can North and East raise the North and West raise the same amount, right? So if that happens, then for infrastructure works, it's well and good. But also,
so each corporation is raising 200 crores. So thereby around 1000 crores.
Yeah, 1000 crores. And one thing is, because we have to see how this happens. For 200 crores, we'll get 26. Every corporation will get 26 crore of incentive. But in total, budget that Nirmala Sitharaman presented, she said for 1000 crore, they'll give around 100 crore incentive. So if we see, will we get 26 crore plus 100 crore, because combine all 5 corporations combined, if we say through GBA, if we put it, will we get 100 crore? That we have to see. But now this plan is good for developing infrastructure. And East has, among 5 corporations, East is the only corporation that has said, okay, we are going to implement only this project, that is tunnels,
2 grade separators.
2 grade separators and 1 flyover that KRDCL is already implementing it. It will expand that flyover and bring towards the city, that flyover towards the city. This is one. What we have to see is how other corporation will go about it. They are saying, my sources say that these bonds, whatever the bonds they are raising, they will also transfer it to BSMILE to implement projects.
So then the BSMILE funds transferred to BSMILE will go
increase
much above 14%.
Yeah, but these funds will be only utilized for this infrastructure project that will be done in their particular corporation.
So BSMILE is a vendor.
BSMILE is a vendor there, right? So but all corporations are not on board with it. So let us give some money from the municipal bonds. We can implement. I mean, we can do some other things and develop infrastructure. Second thing is that they have to ring fence this whatever the municipal bonds that is coming.
Money raised through.
Otherwise, going ahead, it will fall. This is what our Bengaluru planners say. So how they ring fence it and connect it to certain projects so that it credit worthiness remains. This is a challenge.
All the 5 budgets actually talk about road widening and some target of developing some kilometers of footpath, and all 5 corporations have set aside some money for land acquisition, but it is very less. It is not enough to actually acquire land by paying cash compensation. So how do you see this road widening? Actually, for many years earlier, there has been talk of road widening in BBMP budgets, but it never took off because people are not ready to accept TDR. So how do you see this road widening projects actually taking off?
So first thing we need to understand, do we need road infrastructure and footpath infrastructure? Yes, that's the basic requirement right now for Bangalore. Each corporation, if you see, they have set aside 61% of their old budget to infra works. So other corporations also have
Somewhat
similar, except barring North Corporation. It has set aside around 46% of it or something. So that way they have set aside for road widening and developing road infrastructure. But as you said, for land acquisition, is it enough? Two avenues that they will use is they will give out is TDR one, and second, whatever the money they are set aside, right? That money around 50 crore to 100 crore is nothing when we have
you can't even do one road widening project.
Exactly. So what they would essentially do is they would release more TDRs or give out more TDRs. But last year we got premium FAR revenue, and somewhere when we see premium FAR is more attractive than TDR, that's what even corporation officials say. So when if they are giving out TDR, then there is no development at all. If we see that way, they can't raise money or something because it's premium FAR has gained more prominence. So that is
builders
from builders point of view. So in that sense, it's very less. But taking that initiative that we will widen the roads and improve road network, it's a good thing. And also for TDR, these GBA has announced that they are coming up with a platform where even the TDR holders can put their.
I think only one corporation has said they will do an online platform.
Yes, only one corporation has said that they'll do online platform. Otherwise, builders have to go behind who has TDR and then take it and
No, it works the other way. Actually, if you have TDR, you have to go behind builders and try to sell it.
Right, that is there. But how much will you get it?
Correct.
Right, that's the question. So if there was common platform, it would have been easy. We don't have common platform right now. So even if it comes, it takes a lot of time, right? So in that sense, allocation is not
this
great.
Online exchange is being repeated in budget after budget for almost 10 years now.
Yeah, and
since I have been covering.
Exactly.
It has not come.
So we have to wait and see how this goes. But allocation is very less for the ambition they have set for themselves. For example, North has set ambition of improving 1,000 kilometers of footpath. So where's the
some 18 crores they have set aside for that.
Yeah, 18 crores, which is
very less.
Very less. So how are they going to implement it is the question. We have to see how they are going to bring money and put it to the infra works.
So Rishita, now in all the 5 budgets, welfare has been a big part in all the 5 budgets. But most of these programs look like continuation of what was under BBMP. So are there any new welfare measures that are being planned? Unique welfare measures by each of the corporations? Is there some creativity in how these are planned?
So as you already said that we are continuing whatever was there in the BBMP budget, we are continuing to see that in all 5 corporation budget. Even now, if we see the welfare measures, the number of the welfare measures are introduced or the fund that has been allocated, it more or less remains same. However, some corporations, for example, central city corporations, have come up with some innovative or notable initiatives. Like one of them is providing residential complexes to senior citizens who have no one to take care of them. So in this, the corporation will be giving the land while the NGO will be taking care of the senior citizen. So this is one that I could think of and that stands by. Rest, if we see West Corporation, they have decided to look into the education aspect of social welfare and have decided to include digital measures, make smart school, convert 5 of the schools into smart schools, provide e-rickshaws, e-autos to 100 civic workers. But apart from that, if we look at it, it's mostly copy-pasting and following the same template across all the corporations.
So mostly all the programs that were being implemented under BBMP
it's continuing.
Is now being implemented in all the 5 corporations.
Right.
Okay. So Chetan, now that the BBMP has been split into 5 corporations, and the number of wards went up from 198 to 369. So you will need the new corporation officers, new zonal officers, new ward officers, new Indira canteens, any infrastructure, new primary healthcare centers, any infrastructure that was meant for one per ward will need to almost double now, right? So do you see that kind of allocation in all the 5 budgets?
No, sir. There's no expansion of PHCs per se or ward officers, because every ward you need a ward office,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there's no allocation for it per se, but only for head office they have allocated certain amount. Say East has allocated some 25 crore, like that. They have, all corporations have allocated some money to construct head offices, but not ward offices. If we see, even
At
during
least one ward office, one
Indira
Indira
canteen,
canteen, one
one
PHC, and one Nama
Nama
clinic.
clinic. So that has to be there, but there's no expansion plan per se in our budget that has been presented. If we see in East and West corporations, when Maheshwar Rao had gone for public meeting, one of the major concerns, at least 10 people raised this concern, saying ward meetings have not been happening since GBA was formed. 5 corporations was
Split.
formed, right? So since then, there's been no ward meetings. So if this is the case, and then we have 369 wards and we don't have officers, where will they conduct ward meetings? This is one concern, and budget has failed to address this concern, sir.
So increasing the number of wards without decentralizing or increasing the infrastructure, ward infrastructure, it essentially
Serve
means
any
the
purpose.
benefits of the increase in number of wards is not reaching the people, right?
Exactly.
On the ground.
Exactly. Like you said, the outlay, how it has been,
Correct.
There's a disparity. Even with the ward offices, we have certain loopholes. Ward office and other infrastructure as well.
The whole point of decentralization, number of wards increase is, say if one ward is split into 2, there should have been 2 PHCs. Otherwise, there is no point in splitting that ward.
Exactly. To make, even to make governance, it's
Correct.
easier. But now with no officers, if there is only one office and 3 other wards have to go and do meetings there, how are they going to handle it is a question, sir. So there is no expansion plan here in this budget, but they have set aside for maintaining ward offices. This is the budget.
So actually now still all the 5 corporations are running under BBMP website,
Yeah,
Yes.
a body which doesn't exist.
exactly.
So I think only one corporation said they will do their own website.
Website, yes.
The rest 4 corporations have not even opted for a new website, right?
Exactly, sir.
No, sir, it's other way. 1 didn't opt, 4 said.
4 said they will do separate
Only
website.
East said dashboard,
Yeah.
rest all 4 said website.
Website.
Yeah.
Okay.
But does this website will have all the services? We don't know yet, because they have
Correct.
just said we are creating websites and dashboard. What these dashboards mean, we don't know. They have not explained in the
Budget.
That
So
is
that
with
we have to
most
wait.
of the budgets that across 5 corporations, what we are seeing is while plans are made, there is no explanation on how the implementation and execution is going to be.
For example, even the North budget outlay, if we see, there's allocation, but there's no specific pinpoint that we are going to do
What
this.
is
Yeah,
it is going to be spent on.
exactly.
So Rishita, if you see the larger template of all the budgets, apart from road widening, footpaths and welfare, the other big point actually is greening initiatives, urban forestry, climate action plan. So do you see actually there is some substantial focus on greening in the city with the 5 corporations and climate action?
So when we start with greening, for a person living in an area, park is the first thing.
Correct.
And again, when we look at the park, only I think 1 or 2 corporations have spoken or highlighted on expanding the number of parks. Rest, everyone only talks about allocating fund for the maintenance, which does not serve the purpose again of decentralization. So increase in number of parks is not seen.
Actually, East should have done it because they have
Yes.
the lowest number of parks.
Right, it's just the 10% of what the other corporations
Correct.
already have.
Correct.
But central, again, we see they have proposed a blue-green corridor. Then there is the master plan to beautify the space beneath the flyovers. So while there are some measures being taken, we are not sure how they will be implementing it. Again, when it comes to climate change, they across all corporations, we are seeing a focus on EV. So EV pay and use charging points will be coming up. But how this is going to be done? Is it going to be a PPP model? because the investment here requires a lot of fund and we are not sure of how much fund is allocated. Again, the implementation is not clear. Then we have Miyawaki Forest, sponge parks, rainwater harvesting pits. So while these initiatives sound very interesting and very effective, we are not sure how it will be executed. For example, Miyawaki Forest, when we see, it's a great initiative for afforestation in a limited space. But looking at Bangalore and looking at the area where this is being proposed, the soil quality is so polluted that it may not work out as the corporations are planning it. So while the plan is there, the implementation is still questionable.
Overall, if you see, actually, it looks like old wine in a new bottle, in 5 new bottles.
Yeah, and it's a lot on the paper, but
in 5 new bottles instead of 1 new bottle.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
So, let us hope that there will be civic elections this year. And with civic elections, once councillor come in, there will be pressure from the grassroots level and the budget, the nature of the budgets of these corporations change.
Yes, sir. Just to conclude, let's get clarity on this. Will this budget continue for the next 1 year, or once the councillors come in, will there be a separate, a supplementary budget or something like that? So what can we expect?
This has never happened earlier in the corporation level, as far as I know, but in the state level, if there is a new government coming in, they have presented a new budget, right? So usually before an election, a government presents a budget for the full year. Then if there is a change of the government, a new government comes in, and they will, in June or July somewhere, they will again present a budget for the full year,
right,
taking the old budget. This has been the practice at the state level. So we don't know how it will work
with the
corporations. And now it is even more complicated because, say for example, in a corporation, Congress comes to power. Then they may wish to continue because it is the budget presented by bureaucrats under a Congress government.
Exactly.
In a particular corporation, BJP comes to power. Then they may want to junk this budget and present their own budget. Right? So we don't know how it will pan out at that level.
Thanks.
Now it is no longer even one corporation. Right? So it may vary how each corporation responds. But at least let us hope there will be a elected civic council in all these 5 corporations at least by the next budget.
Right.
At least the next budget should be presented by elected representatives and not by officers again.
Let's hope for it.
Yes.